This is good enough. Ah, man. Okay, there's a chink in the armor of preparation today. There was a particular lesson I had that I was going to give a beginning build on, um, but I didn't put the notes in the proper place, so it may be in a different file. So I have to save that for another time. But I'll leave this thing on there right now. Interestingly enough, the students have not filed in yet in the classroom, so I will wait for students to file in here. Letting everybody know if you're in the New York City area, and for those who didn't know, my enlightener, that the elder that taught me the knowledge of self, knowledge me Allah, returned to the essence, and his wake service is tomorrow afternoon. Okay, so um, it'll be on the side of Spanish Harlem, First Avenue funeral service, 349 East 116th Street, and that's between 3 and 6 p.m. tomorrow. All right, so um, if anybody doesn't know and they're not on the social media and things like that, they can, check for us to pay our respects and stuff. And you know what? I hope that everybody that was touched by Knowledge Me, everyone that learned something with him, everyone that was inspired by him, comes through. You know, just wanted to get that first and foremost before we do anything. Okay. Yeah. So as students pile up here in the classroom and or digitally, then I'll start addressing certain things, um, preferably the questions that people have. Okay. Again, at times when it's just digital, I don't like to express certain things, um, because I don't know who particularly I'm speaking to. So I try to keep it as distinct to the individuals and not just be throwing out things that I think are useful, even though they may be. I would like to be earned the least amount, at the very least, earned with a useful question and whatnot. You know, it's nice when you have a wonderful ballad in your head. I have Miles Davis's "Someday My Prince Will Come." It's in there. It's in my head. All right. So, what are we going to build about? For those, I see that there are certain people that may have tuned in, are tuned in, or I think are watching. Maybe they're waiting, expecting me to say things. I just don't think that's the most effective way to teach. I deliberately don't just want to throw things out. You know, a lot of the jewels are best served individually. You know what I mean? In the classroom here, this particular classroom, the Peace course, political education and civilization enrichment, how to deal with the outside world, political education, all this oppression, all of this hell, all of this colorism, all of this racism, all of this pending transhumanism, and civilization enrichment, the science of everything in life, who we are, what we are, the possibilities of what we can and will be, the nature of how we create, and the practice of creation itself, creating things, studying creation, analyzing creation, seeing it within ourselves, the humility of being the maker and the owner, right? The wonder of being the earth, the amazement, and realizing how we created all this. Right? The sciences that give small stories that compile to a complete answer of a new question, the next question, the better question, the question after, the question, the ability to make questions. One of the greatest assignments in this classroom. This is the class. This is the P.E.A.C.E course. All of these are cataloged. You know, Dark Kim was telling me, you know, how a lot of times he shares things that shouldn't have even been shared, like they jewels. You know, he felt. I mean, you know, he got a lot of them. But it's the videos that people watch the most of his when he's ranting. You know what I'm saying? And I could say that that kind of is the same. You know, like for some reason it has to rant or anything. You know what I'm saying? But because it's quiet here, I don't see anything in the chat. I see people here, but I don't see anything in the chat. Feel free to ask me any type of question that you have. I'm here. You know, I'm here from 6 to 8. Tonight's class will end not abruptly, but for the last couple of weeks, they've been ending as late as I could go, right? Until the students decided to leave. You know, they kind of left first. I didn't leave, you know. They let me go, right? And when I have the possibility, I can't even say this won't be like that. But I just want all my bearings, and I don't want to have enough sleep. I just want to have not just enough sleep, but a quality rest. You know, just so I could attend that wake for my enlightener. You know, it's a special thing, your enlightener, because for me, the enlightener is not just that person that you focused on to give you those answers and stuff, but he tapped me into everybody that was teaching. And I learned with everybody else, and it only made what he was teaching me more valid, you know? And I haven't been able to go to, and honestly, just haven't wanted to either. So it made it easier not to go. I'm always busy. You know? So theoretically, there is always something that I have to do You know what I'm saying? I don't know where I was watching. I was watching this somewhere, but they say people that are more creative. They tend to excuse themselves from things and seek solitude. And I appreciate that's kind of solitude. So I'm always in a bind, you know. So this is the students to understand me. I'm always in a bind because most of the time I'm creating something. You know, I'm creating something or I'm developing the craft to create. And usually the most enjoyable part of that is just doing the knowledge to creations and to aspects of this knowledge, which means all knowledge. Reading, listening to music, studying the movements of my body, martial arts, studying other martial arts film, whether it's, you know, actual movies or actual film of training, etc. And, and and the sort. So during these pandemic years, you get used to just being in that. People wanted to get out of that cage, but I embraced it. It's very easy to do that. So I missed a lot of wakes, a lot of things. I always have so many forms to express myself, so I don't need to show the love for the elders that have passed along by going to every wake, although it's totally respectable. Infinite Al Jamar, you know, Dumar, uh, Wise Jamel, Umala. If I wanted to, there's a spot on each place. Azrael, Fakim, right? Allah Real, down the middle right there. Papa Wu, Freedom Allah. There's so many legends, you know, legends of thought, legend thinkers. And we wonder, like, what did they create? They were so creative with the way that they saw reality that their insights to reality changed reality. It's exceptional. This is what I was around, you know, all the time. Arguments among elders that we knew, you know what I'm saying? Like, they looked like, when I was watching it, it looked like giant, mind you, you know, the metaphor might be a little literal because I'm not the tallest man, but they looked like giant gladiators, you know what I'm saying? Fighting, you know what I'm saying? You know? And I'd have my pen and pad out, being a reporter of understanding. And I wouldn't teach here until I had insights that I thought were special, a pedagogy of approach and curriculum and style that would be different, you know, that would be challenging, that would answer to me what was missing. The concept that I always say, I even said this in the song, you know, daring innovation and preservation, sincere preservation of the truth. That combination is the hardest thing to get out of a student. The great innovators often trash preservation. The great preservers of knowledge often can't free themselves to the experimentation that is necessary in innovation. And so there has to be a balance. This is this is the curriculum, right? This is the curriculum. I see some things here. I rambled and people came in. Peace to the God King, King Kamal. You know, peace to the earth. All right, infinite earth, peace. Jarrell, peace. AG, I actually emailed you back, but they're saying the mailbox was full and everything. Peace. Right, that's why I didn't. You know, true divine, true divine. Let's look for something here. All right. Stocky B. Actually, Shakim Allah. Peace to the God. Gabriel, right?
Yeah, brother. How you been, Sunez?
I've been good. I've been good.
Peace. Peace, man. I told my grandmother about you.
Wow.
Yeah. She said you got a very strong name.
Oh, you told her what it meant?
I don't know. I didn't do my research. Be honest with you, but she speaks Spanish like more than me, more fluently.
But when I made the name, it doesn't mean anything in Spanish though. Sunez, you know, I gave it a Spanish sound because of the neighborhood I was coming from. I wanted everybody that wasn't Puerto Rican to know that we was the true and living God, and I wanted everyone that is Puerto Rican to know that you are the true and living God. Like, I wanted there to be some kind of statement even in the name. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'll tell you something. VC Realm, peace. Kalsim, peace to the God. You know, when I had certain builds here, they used to say, and I'll explain this, that the brown and the yellow seed was made during the grafting process. So they weren't as original as the black seed.
Yeah.
And I used to go tell them to fuck themselves. Pretty simple. And I only said that after I demanded that I retort, that I get to retort, that I get to build and answer why that is false. See, some people will tell you stuff, you know, and this is why people argue. People will tell you stuff as a fact, and you know it's not a fact, or you deserve some type of response, but they don't really want to hear the response. You know, they declared certain things emotionally. You know what I'm saying? And in the beginning, when I started to teach this class, I earned a reputation of willing to go let's say the extra mile beyond building, beyond speaking, to make sure that my voice is heard and respected. Heard and respected voice in this classroom means that when you disagree with something, and you rhetorically, not just you, Gabriel, then you know you'd be given a voice to give your thoughts. So that way we could challenge it by the real mathematical reasoning, logical principles being applied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the classroom merits, though. And sometimes that wasn't always the case when I started to teach it. But people weren't used to it, though. So we do something that should be regular, normal, and we bring that in as well. Here's what I was saying, though, that when something is true, and Jiddu Krishnamurti said that when something is true, and people stop testing it, studying it, it becomes a belief, you know? And the same thing goes for this knowledge of self, you know what I mean? And so what happens is that other beliefs can creep into other statements within that. And thus, the brown and yellow made during the grafting process, which is totally wrong. It means that the cremator didn't do a good job. You know? He's supposed to kill the brown and the yellow babies, and he didn't kill them, he let them go. So let's make a movie, The Good Guy Cremator. You know what I'm saying? The Good Guy Cremator. Let them go. You know?
It took me to go to prison to realize my blackness.
It takes a lot of steps. It takes a lot of steps. You know what I'm saying? You know, my whole life, if I could get anecdotal, my whole life though, I was always told that we have black, but we aren't black. So you have it in you, but you're not. Which makes no sense though. But anything can make sense though if it comes with, you know, enough denial, enough non-usage of black culture. You know what I mean? This is how you whiten up your mentality. You whiten up your mentality before you actually whiten up a race. You know what I'm saying? You whiten up those ideas.
That dude to me with the trivia, all that, like fucking that my IQ correlates to my blackness or something. I don't know. You know, I noticed this one dude. He was like, "Your head's black." We was talking through a cage. I'm like, "Yeah." Your eyes. I'm like, brown is black. Yeah. You're black, brother. That was just an eye-opening moment as for me personally. But ever since then, I've been on a journey. I've been diverted on the path a few times, but still back to basics.
Excellent.
Knowledge and stuff. Yeah.
Did you email me?
Nah, I haven't emailed you.
Make sure you do.
I was going to ask you for your email, so I didn't know it was too premature to ask.
No. You should have. I should have gave it to you if I didn't. Sunez97. That's SUNEZ 97 at gmail.com.
I'm definitely gonna give you an email.
All right, so just email me and I'll email you some stuff. A lot of the materials in this class are digital, so if you haven't emailed me, you don't have any of the materials of the class. So, which means that you're an observer. You're observing the class and cheating. You're a fly in the wall. You know, not really getting the full benefit of the classroom, which is a mistake. You know, it's a mistake that many people make. You know. All right. Let me see what's written here. Peace to the earth, harmony. Peace to the queen. I am C Asia. Peace. So, if anybody has any questions there, as always, please throw them at me. I described the course. As I began, I was here alone, and I think I was alone on the digital as well here. And I spoke about tomorrow's is the wait services for my Enlightenment Knowledge Mila. So if you can make it, it'll be at First Avenue, I think it's called. What's it called again? I forgot already. Where is it? Yeah, First Avenue Funeral Services. All right, that's in Spanish Harlem. All right, so from 3 to 6 tomorrow. I'm letting everybody know because I'll be there. You know what I'm saying? If you missed this day, you want to build with me, you want to, see some of the elders and, it'll be nice.
When is that?
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
There's another event Sunday, right?
Sunday is the Parliament.
The Parliament?
Yeah, tomorrow is just the funeral services for my enlightenment who passed away. But Sunday is the Parliament for the whole nation.
Clarence X died February 22nd, right?
No, that was his birthday.
That's his birthday?
Right. And we call him the Father. We call him Allah. He was known as Clarence 13X only in the Nation of Islam. He left the Nation of Islam, so that's really not his name. His name was Allah.
You know, we called him the father because for our elders that taught us, he was really their father. You know, so we don't call him Clarence 13X.
So Allah the Father.
Allah,
Yeah.
Allah the Father. Yeah. You
Pardon
call him the
me.
Father, you call him Allah.
Pardon me.
No, it's peace. That's why you're here, man.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. We don't really do it anymore, but they're not making the buttons like that. But when we used to get knowledge like a newborn as yourself, though, don't have the knowledge yet, is starting to learn, we used to always get a pin. We used to get a button with the father on it, you know, his silhouette. You know what I mean?
Oh, where?
Mm-hmm. And we would wear that. You know what I'm saying? I remember wearing that throughout 1999. You know, because by the end of that year, Knowledge Me gave me my flag. I earned my flag, quoting degrees, and then I had to wait to get the actual flag. And I actually had the day that he pinned the flag on me was on my born day. You know what I mean? And when he gave it to me, he said, "This is the last time any other man but you pins this flag on you." And he was right. Even the women I've been with, I never let them pin the flag on me. You know? No, nobody put the flag on me. Put it yourself. You know what I mean? But
That's tough.
yeah, it reminds you of what you have to do. You know, the integrity, the honor, the responsibility, the accountability. You know. But it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. You know. I don't know if the sound. I don't know why the sound will be going in. I got the microphone here. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you can hear it as good as possible. But if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm gonna go through some things that'll be useful for you. Okay? Because last week I gave you the basic history. You know what I mean, of this nation, how it came about. You know what I'm saying? How he left the temple. You know. And started this, you know what I'm saying? And so we want to go through mathematics, right? Mathematics and alphabet is something that Allah devised himself with a lot of back and forth as he was thinking about it with the firstborns at the time, you know what I'm saying? And some of the elders that had left the temple with him. But it was really his final decisions, his thought process that is exemplified in that. And it's all genius. The way I describe supreme mathematics is the what and how does the original man do? How do we create? What is the nature of creation? What are the principles in each step in creating? This is what supreme mathematics is. This is what it details. Okay? When we go through supreme mathematics, we have 1 and 0 and then everything in between. There's really nothing else but that. Theoretically, nothing is happening broken up. It's all just happening. Things are created and they continue to be created, right? Knowledge through the cipher again and again, right? When we break it down, we are getting a detail of how things go through the mental to the physical and to its repercussions, how it affects the most important things, right? What I like to call the inner, the outer, and then the fruit, okay? So if we were to analyze it here, it would be you have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I always say that is the inner. And we have culture, power, and equality, and that is the outer. I'm going to explain why, of course. And then we have God, build, and born, and that is the fruit of it all. Okay? So I break it down into 3 parts. Okay? A mental, right? An inner, an outer, a physical, and a fruit, a realization of it all. Okay? When we deal with knowledge, I always say that knowledge is an actual fact or a real, actual idea of creation. This is something that people don't say when they build with this. This is something you hear with me. People don't say this, but they know it to be true. We are the creators. And when we think of something, it is based on the facts and the insights and everything that we have. And that becomes a special type of knowledge that we have. It is a truth. It is a truth that then has to be what? Go through wisdom. And wisdom is that usefulness of that truthful actual fact, that original idea. It has to be used. Tested in the mind. Related to all that you live and all that you realize. And it reaches a stage where I call it a revelation of purpose. A purpose to it is all revealed. This is the comprehension that is understanding. Right? When this inner, then, this understanding goes from the inner to the outer, it is lived as your culture, your way of life. Freely. It is outside of your mind. It has been manifested. It is a culture. It is being lived. It is being worked. And it is reaching out. The way whatever it becomes, or however it is perceived, is not completely under your domain now. It's outside of your mind. It is the culture that you live. It is your understanding expressed outwardly. Okay? This then leads into power, what I call a propulsive influence. I say propulsive to show that it is what? Moving. It is a moving influence. Power. There's an argument of refinement being in power. Power of refinement. Refinement was something added. The great elder Umala, remembered in perfection, used to tell me that the gods were seeing a lot of women in bathing suits. And they kind of were like, getting thirsty, if you know what I mean, right? And he said, your power doesn't have enough refinement. He said the Father said that to him. And after a while, they started to put refinement, power or refinement in the 5th degree. That was something that gods, when they were in Medina, and when the Father went to Medina, he did not teach them that. And the original mathematics doesn't have the refinement in it. So when it's used, it is often seen by those that don't have it, though, as just being another synonym of culture. It doesn't belong in the 5th degree. It should be in the 4th degree, which means not there at all. Right? However, correct sounding that is, the word refinement isn't a culturing of the power. You know how you culture things, you develop them. It's not what refinement means in this case. For those that use refinement, and I teach it, it means a focus of that power. The power that your culture wields will always have a particular focus. Like light becomes a laser. It has a focus. All right. Now, when this power is refined, this focus leads to what? It leads to an equality. What I like to call the proper position of you now with this knowledge, this original idea of used, reaching an insight of understanding, lived as a culture, influencing all, making you anew. This is an equality reached, right? It is a proper position. A new balance, a new reality, right? Equality is often equated with balance, right? The equality of you and your creation out there, fulfilling, changing reality, right? So now it is out there. There was an equality. Now the fruit. 7, God. I like to say, when you go through mathematics, you don't become God each time. You already are. So God in the mathematics, in this process of creation, means that you have what? Reaffirmed reaffirmed yourself. This is a rejuvenation of reaffirmation. This creation from knowledge all the way through to its fullest equality has served to what? Rejuvenate you in this reaffirmation. I have done that and I am. You are new. You are in the reality of creating. That is the beginning of this fruit. And what has happened is that you have built or destroyed. Is build, right? 80s build or destroy. You have built and you have destroyed what was once there that existed, and now you have built something anew. You have changed, you have universally changed the reality. This is different than just picking a different breakfast cereal. This type of building means that you have changed the mentality, the landscape, the reality. Okay, it is profound. Okay. Just like when we tell people to build on today's mathematics, there is something profound that they are saying, that when it is used and seen and heard, it is far more profound than expected. It must be. Once we build, once we have built, we what? We reach a level of what? Fruition. Right? An elevated fruition. It is born. It is complete, right? For so many of us, though, when we look at things that are vital, that are exceptional, we very rarely reach the level of born. Be a finisher. You read certain books, they have jewels, but they get boring. You finish them. You finish things. You start to train, though. You say you're going to do these set things. You do them with as much vigor as possible, and you finish. The true and living God has to practice completion of the task, completion of the build. Bringing things to equality means that you bring all the fruit. You bring it to born. Right? This is the exercise of being us, the ability to complete and born things. This is something that can be practiced. See? This is really something where most of our people fail with. What's today's date, Gabrielle? Do you know?
April 27th.
Mathematics then is wisdom, God, right?
Yes.
Right? The way of yourself is to constantly born. The way of God is to constantly born, constantly complete, constantly fulfill, constantly put things in existence that are fulfilled and complete. All of the wonderful things of humanity. If our people learn to complete things alone and together, there's not much oppression left that can topple that. Simple. Direct. Let's see, I have something. Let's see if I can find it. I don't have all my files here, so sometimes I don't find everything. Yes, I have it. Okay. Anyway, I'll say that in a minute. So that then we what? This process continues of creation, and so we what? Knowledge add on a cipher. That's how we say it when we get to 10. Knowledge add on a cipher. It shows that when that cipher represents infinity. The reality of infinity is the cipher. People say it means a person, place, or thing. But really what it means is the reality, the infinity of all things. And so it can be applied finite. This cipher, build in that cipher, this cipher here, right? But yet it can be infinite. Just like this classroom. It is here, and yet it could reach beyond. even after this session is done. The possibility of its infinity, the reality that the build will continue. Once that knowledge is made born in creation, the knowledge add on a cipher, it will always continue.
Peace, next.
Peace.
Forget about us.
No, I mailed it.
You mailed it out.
Yeah, mailed it out.
Check them out. Okay.
So
I get the Zoom conference.
yeah, if I remember, it should get to you maybe May 9th.
Please.
All right. Right? Born. See? Complete. Finisher. Finishing shit. Right? When people ask you for shit. See, you thought, oh, I forgot. Nope. I didn't forget. I'll mess up before I forget. But which is possible too. This is the supreme mathematics. Nothing works like, oh, I have this idea. Oh, I will use idea. Nothing works that robotically. Okay? But this mathematics is to be used to look back and see your principles. To look back, peace. To look back and then forward. What will be? How will you build? How have you built? Right? What flaws and what highlights are you seeing? Right? This is what we're seeing. Right? Peace. That's peace halftime. I've been teaching this inner, outer fruit too long. I don't know. I probably came with that understanding 2003, 2. I don't know. All right, there are some questions what I was saying. Okay, I'm glad that people hear it clearly. I don't know. Maybe it was the microphone because I didn't have it bent. I don't know. Kasim, you said, with what you stated earlier about continuing to test the truth or it'll become belief, are we continuing to test research on the black man being God with so much images and narratives going against that? We're always testing. It doesn't mean that I don't have full confidence that it will be shown and proven. What I do have also major confidence in is that the more I research myself, the more that I'll find. You see what I'm saying? So it isn't like I'm researching endlessly the black man is God because I'm sure that one day it'll be disproven. It's only because I see that it'll prove more depth. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to say that you truly see it, and yet we still research it. You see? I think, when you say even with the AI and Chat GPT, I doubt if you ask it if the black man is God, that it would say it's true. And for some, that's enough. I'm sure AI will always say it's not. You know what I'm saying? AI is just a large digital white man. I don't. Why would I respect that? It doesn't have the. See, one thing that AI will never have is it won't have understanding. I had this build with the God Rakim, does the great podcast, great journalist, Why's the Dome TV. And I was telling, and he was asking me about this. We don't have.
Excuse me.
This is you wrote this.
Yeah, just read it.
Oh, this is an
It doesn't
AI.
even have the capacity to answer that kind of question.
Let me just read this before I say the story. Is black man God? As an AI language model, I do not have personal beliefs or opinions. However, it is important to respect the beliefs and cultures of all individual groups. It is also important to note that the idea of any one group or individual being considers it as deity is a matter of personal or religious belief and may vary depending on cultural and philosophical perspectives. Wow, this is a very politically correct AI. You know what I'm saying? It is not the hell that's going to kill us, right? So anyway, yes, I like that. I think that you did that. So anyway, I was telling the guy the story about when I was with Darkim one time. We was at the school, and I was joking with Darkim because I was like, we were at the front of the school sitting, and both of us were there, but we weren't teaching the class. We were just relaxing. It's a very rare moment, right? But we're sitting there, and we're just relaxing. And the young brother's coming in. He's hype off this knowledge. He's like, "Yo, black man's God. Yo, we know everything." You know, and I'm just like, I'm just keeping quiet because I'm resting. I'm relaxing. That's what I'm doing. I look at Dark Kim and he goes, "We don't know everything." You know what I'm saying? They have the ability to research. They have the money to research. They have the ability to research what we researched. You know what I'm saying? They have machines and tools and resources to compile more information. Meaning, like, as an add-on to what you're saying, they can go to the digs. We talk about the archaeology, the proofs of the black man being the father of civilization, but they can go to the digs. You know, they can go here into these digs to see the largest pyramids out there. They can go here to find the Pyramid of Giza, right? They can go there. They can research it. It was Cheikh Diop who had to really go above and beyond to even be allowed to go and see the pyramids. You know what I'm saying? This is how difficult it is for like the black scholar to even get in there to see his own shit. Really, right? See his own shit.
That's crazy.
Right? The same with Chancellor Williams, who wrote Destruction of Black Civilization. That book is so vital because at the end of the book, though, he gives a very long addendum add-on at the end that just describes how difficult it was to get all this research. Like how difficult it was to write the book. He gave the story.
What was that book called?
Okay. Chancellor Williams, he wrote a major book called The Destruction of Black Civilization, and the years that he gave it. This is the bracket of years. That's the subtitle. Is, from what I remember, 4,400 BCE, before Common Era, to 2,000 Common Era. That means 6,400 years. We say that the devil has been here for 6,000 years, and the grafting process was 600. So he was off by 200 years to match the exact date that we say. Mind you, he didn't know anything about it. Chancellor Williams actually truly believed that that Jesus Christ was white. After all that, because he said it in the addendum of the history. You know what I'm saying? That blew my head more than anything else in the book. I was like, how did you just see all the shit and you're saying that? Yeah. But anyway, necessary book. I can send it to you. I think I have that at least PDF. Okay, but like those PDFs that take up like all your space, not PDFs. You know this, man. But Cheikh Diop, he wrote many books, but his most important is The African Origin of Civilization. That book I have is an EPUB, so I can get that to you in a nice way. But both books I have, they're worth buying. They are worth buying. They're essentials to your collection. You know what I mean?
The African Origin of Civilization.
Yeah.
And the author again?
Cheikh Diop, Cheikh. Middle name Anta, Anta. Last name Diop, Diop. These are two genius scholars, right? Okay. So with all that, Darkim said that he tells the young God, we don't have all the knowledge or the ability to keep producing all this information. What we have that is most unique that no one can have is that we have the understanding. We develop the understanding. We're the supreme mind. We are the creators. We develop the understanding. We have the understanding. And I thought about this. And my add-on was everything that they research, we are the understanding. We are what they get to when they research. Right? So we don't have all the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to keep mining, to keep getting in there, to keep mining. Everybody wants new black politicians, brown people here, black people here. We just need to go get knowledge, more information, more access to that. Everything else will build itself. Okay, let's see where I'm up to here.
I don't know where King had said something. Okay. Okay. I'm a little. I skipped. King Kamal. God, divine justice, peace. VC realm, peace. King, you said if some math and alphabet are slightly different, why do many make it into a rift to this day? Just like the all being born clash. I think this. I think that people don't really have a good knowledge of pedagogy. I think people have taught this knowledge at worst religiously. You know what I'm saying? At best, if I could say, extremely traditionally. Learn here. This is rote memorization. Memorize this, memorize that. Because we memorize supreme math alphabet in 120 lessons, you start to learn things rote, meaning repetitive. You know what I'm saying? And so the understandings, the insights, anything that you share, learning about what these things you memorize mean, you also are memorizing that. In other words, you take the same approach. See, the curriculum here I have is different because I'm not just teaching you to memorize these things. I want you to memorize these things, math, alphabet, 120 lessons, but I want you to supplement them, but not just with reading literature that shows details about it, but I want you to have your own thoughts on it. You see the branches that come off from those thoughts. And I want you to hear unique insights from them from me so that you have your own commentaries or your own builds from that. See, I need telomeres. I need telomeres in your brains to be flowing when you learn this. Meaning that the telomeres are the connective tissues in the brain. When you start to solve problems, when you start to think of things, they start to grow and extend. And that's the lifespan of the individual's power. It's how many telomeres his brain makes. So the person that's lazy and everything like that, it doesn't matter if he did things well, sincere, whatever, as he was told, he will not have the same lifespan as others. You see? If we free ourselves from the stress of that, the hell of that, and we start to make connections, keep our brain active, all of these things, even as you learn things that you know are true, then find out more reasons why they are true. Okay? This is what's key. You know, I think that's the main problem that happens here. You know? Halftime, you answered, King, and you said hard to have a whole utopia when there's also free will. Everyone won't always agree. See? In this certain cases, there was no need to agree if the understanding is shown and proven. See? A lot of the problem with refinement being an argument, though, is that the people that were most against it being in there, most of the people from Medina that were representing Medina, the mistake is that, and it's compounded by those in Mecca doing it as well, is that they're teaching it and saying, this is what I got, this is all I'm going to teach, instead of saying, what do I teach? And then how does the whole nation see it? You know what I'm saying? So when I teach you something, I'm showing you what everybody's dealing with. So I teach you refinement. It's in the math I'm going to give you. You see? But I'm very clear that it has to be different than just my power is refined and stuff. Well, what do you mean by that? Be detailed. How does refinement mean not just culture? How? You see what I'm saying? Because that refinement has to mean focus. How is it focused? Right? How is your power focused? Right? How is it to the target? I always give the example of the father. There's no pictures of him where he's on a pulpit like Malcolm X or something like that. Or Marcus Garvey. He never spoke to the stranger in this way. You know what I'm saying? He always selected individuals. You know, it was a very individual process. And that's why everybody learned so individual. That's why for so many of the elders, like especially Umala, this was such a problem here. You see? This was such a problem. The idea of even sharing this, so when it was so personal, so intimately shared, that's why he's Allah the Father. For those that knew him, he really was a father figure to them. You know what I mean? He was the one keeping them from doing dumb stuff. And when they did dumb stuff, he protected them. You know what I mean? And he stopped them from doing dumb stuff. You know? He gave them the blueprint of demanding families, though, right? But sometimes all they were really good at was be fruitful and multiply. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't so good at like containing the multiplication. You know what I'm saying? Right?
So the next generations had to learn family building, all of these things, right? And you see how difficult these things get, right? They had difficulties making families with this new knowledge that was contrary to the beliefs of the society, more so than even today, right? And yet family was something that was accepted. Today, this knowledge stuff may be more accepted as our thing, even if they disagree with it. But then now, that universal flag, man, woman, child, sun, moon, star, is actually more harder to do. It's okay not to have family. You don't need the father there. You don't need this, right?
That's what they're showing.
Right? You don't need to have that. You can have other things. You know what I'm saying? Alternative shit. Right? So the black family, that unit that the flag is based on, is more difficult to see than before. So there's always new challenges, is what I'm saying. Always new challenges. Right? I have always taught this not as we are compiling and we're going to be better than ever and just laugh Skeletor at the end of the class when it's really big and it really worked out. I've always taught this class as if this won't last. That I could be the only one that has it. Because I want you to be prepared to be in places where no one will get it. So that you understand you don't have to beat people's heads up. Are you able to be who you are even if no one sees it? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the difference, though. That's the difference between being who you are and just doing what everyone else does, assimilation. We talk about Puerto Rican history, right? Things like that, Dominican history. The Latino particularly, especially the Caribbean Latino, is a history of assimilation. Okay, I'm not that anymore. Okay, I won't be African anymore. I won't be this anymore. Always hiding it. It's not so important anymore. It's there. We just do drums and stuff. You know, we just talk this way. You know, those are some of the African things we do. You ever research books though? They say if you have the language of the African, the language, the dialect that people have, is one of its most important components to the legacy of those people. In other words, as an anthropologist looking backwards, the language that survives is the strongest tool to show the evidence of it. Now I can see why people changing the meanings of things, altering things is so important. There's Ivan Van Sertima who said that in his book, They Came Before Columbus. I just said that. You know? And you know what word that I read that he said about an African tribe that stayed in my head?
What's that?
It was the word that he said was in the indigenous tribes of North America and South America was the Jibaro. Jibaro. If you know anything about Puerto Rican salsa, Puerto Rican immigrants that come here, before the great Hector Lavoe was singing, a Jibaro was like an insult, a hick. They meant the mountain people, the people that live up there, really literally the indigenous and the Africans that became the Maroons. And they were those who made farmland up there, and they became the farmers. Right? Those are the Jibaros. It was hard to tell because their shade was very light, just light like me. But they're the Jibaros, the farm people, and the music that becomes the unique Christmas genre of Puerto Rican music, aguinaldos, right, is based off that kind of music. It's with the cuatro guitar, the guitar, the four-string guitar that comes from the Moors, from Spain. Innovators of string theory, right? In Cuba, they use the same the small guitar as well, but it only has 3 strings. So it's called a tres, right? 3, right? So all of these things, I was reading and it was saying one of the names was the Jibaro, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. You know what I mean? And so that information I said stuck in my head, stayed in there, hard to get out. Malik, all right. What I'm saying is that I don't think we need a utopia. Remember last week I was saying what I was saying to the guy Sam. I was like, things not being neither good or nor bad is because sometimes we always say that to say the truth shall rise to the top, right? But that's not that shows like the truth is some out of body thing. That's making a mystery God out of the truth. No, the truth rises because there's people under it pushing it up. The truth can always rise, but someone else could throw more dirt on it, right? So that's not really true. You know what I mean? So when we deal with truth, we have to have parameters of truth. That was the whole point of supreme mathematics, that we have parameters to always come to an accord of respect because we have parameters. Like we go through these maths to see what is right and exact, what is true. You see? And if we go through mathematics and the things that we have that might be disagreeable to each other, and we see like what is right and exact, what is useful, what isn't, then we go beyond things like the father said this, the father said that. No, that's not what he said when he was alive, though. He didn't teach no elder I met, no firstborn, no first fruit, right? The first fruit, those who were taught by the firstborn first. None of them were saying the father said that the father said so. Oh, how did the father prove that to you? Because he said so. That's what he told me. I said so. Never said that. I've never heard anybody that was with the father say that. Why is it true, Allah? Because I said so. Because the minute that he does that, and he's saying he's Allah, then he becomes a cult figure. You see? He showed and proved everything so that he is not a cult figure. Right? So it's the only way we could take it. The only place we could bring it. The only understanding that we could seek. Mr. G1, you said while primary research involves active participation from the researchers themselves, secondary research involves the summary of synthesis of data in literature that has been organized and published by brothers. When doing secondary research, researchers use and analyze data for primary research sources, and all of it is useful. All of it is definitely useful. Original thought process versus pre-sequenced program thoughts. Oh, I definitely see that versus. Okay. And the rest here is a lot of shout outs. I love this community here. It's honored. I'm honored to have that. Everybody gets here, builds.
Peace and God.
Peace.
Let me just hug my brother.
Peace, God.
Peace. Love you, man. How you been?
Every
All
day.
wise and righteous.
Indeed, God.
Yes, man. Charlotte, the son. I love him. I don't know. I love him.
Likewise, God.
Peace, God.
Peace, God. Okay. I had this. I don't know if I share it all the time, but I had this children's. I literally was teaching my youngest daughter this during the weekend. The last weekend I had her was my children's mathematics. So I told her I only was going through knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So I'm saying, I'm on 1 is knowledge, 2 is wisdom, 3 is understanding. Okay. So my children's mathematics is like simple words to see how it means. So I said 1 is you what? Right? You get it, you use it, you got it. See? Because you get the knowledge. You arrive at it, you find it, you get it. Then you use it, wisdom. But then when you got it, and I said, I don't know, when you got it? It's really in there, right? Then I give her the little Carmelo, you got it, right? It's in there, right? So the whole thing goes like this, right? And I just do get it, use it, got it, live it, the culture, show it, the power, share it, the equality. 7, are it, A-R-E, you are it, right? 8, build, change all. 9, finish all. 0, cipher, begin again. You begin again. It's knowledge add on the cipher, right? This is my children's mathematics when I build with
and I made this for my daughters, like how I could build with them, like when they was really. I made this when my oldest was 21, when she was really little. This is what I was telling them, you know. I'll send you all this stuff,
All right.
even though I like you guys taking notes. It's refreshing.
Yakub.
Say again.
The Yakub on, you told us to write something on Yakub. What we do?
Well, and you did.
Yeah, I ain't write an essay in years, so that's so low. But
Is this the wait? Okay, one, then the back. Okay. Can I take this with me?
yeah, yeah.
And I'll give it to you next week. Excellent, excellent.
All right. That's
So,
Okay, write your name. Okay. So my great student here, Mohammed, actually did the assignment. Right. As a newborn, I'm very interested to see what you say with this, you know, and I'm gonna read this over the weekend. You know what I mean? With the fine-tooth comb and find a million errors.
Yeah, 'cause this
Just
is
be a
great.
real jerk. No, that's peace, though. That's peace. This is great. This is great. I'm not over here grading papers in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
no, but I welcome that because that's the only way I know iron, sharper iron. That's the only way I get better.
No, facts, bro.
Okay. You know, I had some research about Patmos and Pelon and stuff like that, but I cannot remember what it was, honestly, and that's I'm not happy with that. You know, but there was something I read about why Pelon and Patmos, why they were those words were used interchangeably like that. I can't remember what it was. So you're gonna have to let that be my week's assignment, though. I will text you, Malik, when I find that answer sooner than Thursday, next Thursday. You know, I'll leave it to Malik to give me a stumper, you know, or to remind me of what I've forgotten, you know. But it was a great question. Great question. You know, it's funny. The last time I stumbled on a degree with my enlightenment was this day's degree. I hate this degree. Yeah, yeah. You know, because it's so religious. You know what I'm saying? It's so religious that I hate the degree. You know what I mean? And we have to quote Revelation chapter 1, verse 9. You know, I, John, who also am your brother, companion, tribulation, and the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ was on the islands called Patmos for the word of God and testimony of Jesus Christ. I hate that. It's gross to me. You know what I mean? But I get it. It's about the idea of the witnessing of the grafting process. That's what it means. You know what I'm saying? That's what it mainly means. You know what I'm saying? But I still hate it though. I don't use it that much. You know what I'm saying? And I always felt bad about that. But I remember one time Firstborn Prince used to live here, and that was a journey, an experience in itself. But one time I don't know, he rolled in here all mad. He was talking, I was talking to somebody, and he rolled in, and he goes, "Man, sometimes I forget degrees too, man. Sometimes they're fucking confusing me because some of them are very similar and shit." And I was like, "Wow, the great Firstborn Prince has problems with like degrees that seem similar." You know what I'm saying? And I think his was, Robert Crelly was the 26th degree and shit. He was like, they all be repeat the same shit, you know? And I was like, yeah, they do, you know?
But even though in peace, like, don't you get a.
Oh, no, there are differences. There are major differences.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, have
Yeah,
and insight on
Of course. You know what I mean? And this is Elijah Muhammad's way of speaking what he has learned. And if you read Message to the Black Man or any of his books, you realize that he talks like this all the time, you know? And he has zero grammar.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes degrees are hard to remember, not because they're just long, but because his grammar is very off, you know?
I mean, it's probably irrelevant. It doesn't pertain to. I feel that it's pertinent though. Like when I was game banging, like in the past and shit, but I learned like literature obviously because that's like the nation and stuff, and like even those like that piece that like I learned then, now like I apply it differently and I like perceive it differently. Like wise mind and stuff. Like your thoughts become your words become your actions, actions become your habits, your habits become your character, your character becomes your destiny. Like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
And that process, though, is literally what you were saying, is knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Right? The words, to the actions, to, right?
Culture. Yeah.
Exactly. That degree today's degree I'm talking about is, the question is, tell us the name of the place where Yakub manufactured the devil. And then the answer is the P.E.A.C.E, the same as Patmos, in Revelation chapter 1, verse 9. And then it quotes the Bible's chapter 1, verse 9 in Revelations, which I already said, which is I John, you know what I mean? But the concept is witnessing, that the witness to what is being done in this grafting process, you know, the manufacturing of the devil. You know, that's what that degree is about. It is completely religious to me. There's another degree. There's one more degree that quotes, but that's earlier, and it quotes the Bible as well. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18. But I like that one though, because it's got a lot of wickeds and W's. You know what I'm saying in it? Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18. You know? But when you get to that, the 1 to 40 is later. It is the big beast of the 120 lessons, the biggest clump set, because the 120 lessons is broken down to pieces. So student enrollment, the first 10 degrees, who's the original man, who's the color man, right? What is the population of the original nation? What's the population of the devils, right? Et cetera, right? Square miles, useful land of the original man and the colored man, and the birth record of nations and birth record of this nation, right? Basic facts, student enrollment. Then you get 1 to 36, as I give it. Some people give 1 to 14, then 1 to 36. I like the 1 to 36 first because that's how I was given it, but I like it because it's simpler. You know, you're trying to learn 120 lessons though, but if you memorize the first 10, then the next 36, you got 46. Come on. Makes you feel like you're in there. You know, you're going. You know what I'm saying? And the 1 to 36 is a conversation. What my enlightenment taught me, knowledge me taught me, was that this is a conversation between Fard and the judge, and it's something that is repeated by Elijah Muhammad. So these are not Elijah's questions and answers. This is something that he learned. The English C lesson, number 1 to 36. And in that, it's a conversation, and the conversation is about how the original man was brought here, how he got fooled. So it has many insights to this mental and physical realities of slavery and its impacts. Okay? Very specific to the so-called African American. You know what I mean? Although people say it's only specific to the African American, many of it applies to all of us that went through slavery in some respect. And nearly all of the original people have gone through some form of slavery in this modern era. Okay? We even have to include most of Asia in this as well. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Latin America, who are really actual part of the enslavement of the transatlantic slave trade. Remember, as a note, when the transatlantic slave trade was ended, right? All these countries slowly ended, right? Right? The slave trade adapted into other forms, like this trade, right? Like the coolies and most of the Asians that were coming over, they were subjugating them in different ways, but they were quite horrible. It's not like we said, "Oh, that's cool," or it would be literally be corny to say, "Oh, but it's not as rough as slavery, though," because that's really not the point. It was really not the point. You know? The end game was still pretty much the same, right? Even though nothing compares to the transatlantic slave trade, right? But it's all hells, is what I mean. And After that is the Lost Found Muslim Lessons 1, and then the second one. The first one is one called the 1 to 14, because it's 14 questions and answers. The second one, 1 to 40, is 40 questions and answers. When someone says, "What's today's degree?" they're looking at the one that is in the 1 to 40. So the 27th degree that I quoted is from the 1 to 40. There are 14 in the 1 to 14, but during the first 14 days of the month, you would never answer any of those as the day's degree. The day's degree counts as the one in the 1 to 40 for that day. Okay? Today's mathematics is what you say for when you look at the degrees of what the degrees are, mathematical degrees. So today's the 27th, right? So it is wisdom God. Right. Okay? All being born, that equals 9, right? Some people now are not doing that. I give them less lip service than I would for people that don't have refinement, because I respect the people that don't have refinement because it wasn't taught to them in that legacy and lineage. And it is an add-on, a supplemental aspect of the supreme math. Okay? When people say that they don't deal with all being born, that's not something that any elder ever taught me not to do it. Whether it was firstborn, whether it's first fruit, nobody. I don't know if that's the case with you, Kayvon. It's an interesting question, because now that you're here,
I
no,
do some history.
no,
I do
no,
some history about it.
no. I'm saying for me,
Mhm.
right? No elder, whether it was firstborn, prince, Ahmed, no one ever told me not to born the day's mathematics.
I'm gonna give you some history on that, and basically where that whole thing is stemming from. Because this happened in the late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
where brothers basically, like, take the day. Today is wisdom God,
God.
all being born to born. You had individuals, they wasn't even dealing with wisdom God. All they want to talk about was born.
Mm.
And that's why that even started coming up, because days wisdom built destroyed, all being born in knowledge, that cycle, all be born in knowledge. Only thing they're gonna add on is about knowledge. It's like, God, the date is 28.
Right. It's got to be dealt with.
People started just dealing with what it was born. And that was it. And that's why you had
So then you had this other counter response
to tell them
of saying, "Don't born it."
because y'all don't understand what you're doing already. You reached the day's date is dealing with the day's degree, day's mathematics. A lot of people don't understand. Day's mathematics only telling you the mind state of the people at that day and time. Look at the degree. Today is wisdom God. Was the name place where the devil was manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mind state of the people today. You can't live out today's mathematics. You got to live out your mathematics. Every day for 365 days, you live out your mathematics. And then the next year, you live out the next mathematics. You're not living out today's mathematics. That's just the mind state of people, the 85% walking around. But that's where that really stems from, because individuals stop dealing with the actual foundation of it, and they just want to deal with this, that, and the third. And it's like, yeah, what about?
I see that, K-Bar. What I don't see is that as the way it's being re-brought out now.
What?
Because the way it's brought out now is more so a thing where they're saying it never was done. And they're trying to erase history that I'm like, that.
Well, they try. Well,
you see what I'm saying?
But see, I understand why. Because see, you got to take it back to how what it is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
People start freestyling. That's what we got. We got a whole bunch of people freestyling, and then when you ask them basic, just foundational questions, and it's like, oh, why are you talking about all this? And you can't just answer what's wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't going off what's wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And no, don't sit up here and tell me what someone already have written out. Yeah, we all heard all those. We've heard all wisdom is wise words being manifested by wise men such as I. We've heard all that for years. What is wisdom according to you? And that's really where, like I said, certain things are going back to roots to get individuals. You ain't got no foundation. Your foundation is shaky, but you know all this other shit.
I see that. Yeah, I definitely see that.
Just like in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
See, guy, in the 80s, plus degrees was everywhere. Everywhere. You had people who could quote plus degrees getting the 120. Not one. Couldn't get past the 1 to 36, but could quote some plus degrees, and you be like, yo, that motherfucker do some shit.
Right.
And then end up finding out, yo, I know more lessons than him. And you be like, hold on. When I came around, he was talking. A year later, you telling me I know more lessons than him? Because when you go to ask this brother, because you thought he knew something, yo, guy, what's this degree? No, I don't know that, God. I'm only on this. And then it messes you up because you be like, oh, what you mean you only on this? All this time, I'm thinking, you know 120. You mean you still on the 1 to 36? I'm asking you a question about the 1 to 40, and you can't even help me now. Mm-hmm. But you can quote this plus degree.
Right. I worry that these responses, though, these counter responses are always also too rigid. And I say that only because the plus lesson thing is a real thing, right?
Like you don't even see them no more.
And when I got knowledge, I'm a writer.
And you hold up. By the time you came,
right,
we had already filtered that out. Right. So but you never even saw it.
Right. But when I came, they were telling don't learn any plus lessons, and they were saying don't write any.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I'm a writer. But I'm gonna write one.
And see, that was the thing.
Right.
Because you gotta remember, this is at a time when people was trying to write plus degrees and only know the 1 to 10.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
they don't know 120, but they writing plus degrees.
Right.
Like, bro, what? How you writing plus degrees?
Right. Yeah.
You don't even know your lessons, but you write plus degrees.
Right. And I see that because I think a lot of times people will be in the classroom and then you'd have them write an essay and they thought that their essay was a plus lesson.
No,
and that's just you just wrote some.
I asked you a question and I wanted you to explain.
You wrote it down or whatever, but it's the same thing. I definitely see that guy.
But like you said, when you came around, that was one of the things that was already enforced. Nah, man, leave them plus lessons alone. Leave them plus lessons alone. Right. Individuals, depending on who you were, who you walking on, if you were qualified, certain individuals show you certain plus lessons. But they ain't nobody just learn 120. Because see, we already been through that where individuals knew all these plus lessons, but they ain't no 120 for shit. Mm-hmm. Couldn't even give you couldn't teach you nothing. But you could talk about all this other shit. And that's why by the time you came around, like you said, don't even looking at the plus lessons. Right. Don't even be worried about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it was in the 80s, it was so many plus lessons. Because you had majority of the plus lessons about the black woman came from brothers who was locked up. That's how she got put on such a high pedestal. Why do you think? Brothers who locked up and can't get nothing, they got to make her be the best thing possible. Think about it. You locked up 5 years. You ain't been with no woman. So you got to make this woman to be the greatest thing ever. But we all know reality is this. Woman with knowledge, woman without knowledge. She's still a woman. And that's just, men and women are always just going, in a relationship, you can have all the knowledge in the world. Don't mean you and your earth ain't gonna argue. Hey, look, you still it ain't gonna stop you from looking at her someday and saying, what's wrong? Going out the house, man. That ain't gonna stop just because you got knowledge. That's just life. And a lot of people think that because you get the knowledge, all of a sudden it's like, instead of doing things what comes natural, we have to perform it. Have to have earthiness. It's still just man and woman. At the end of the day, man and woman. Hold on. You fuck her. Guess what? Did you ask me permission? Did someone ask me, did they say, okay, bro, can we get together? No. So if y'all start having problems, don't come asking me now. Why? What I got to do with that? Because do you want some? Hold on. Let's answer this. Do you want somebody from the outside in your relationship?
No.
I don't care. Straight up. Do you want somebody who don't got nothing to do with you and your woman?
Some Dr. Phil.
Not even Dr. Phil. See, he's a doctor. We just talking about this. The random person you know, all of a sudden he's kind of, oh, what are you even in my relationship for? And people forget. Yeah, we righteous. We not holy. You gonna see some good shit. You gonna see some bad shit. Gonna see some ugly shit. Gonna see some beautiful shit. That's I can tell you because you find it all here. Gonna have some good shit, some bad shit, some ugly shit, and some beautiful shit. Just gotta take the best part for yourself. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't realize, all the ugly and the bad shit, guess what? You gotta hold that too. So when you go amongst people and they say, well, I know these 5% did this. Yeah, okay, I know. It might have been. It just is what it is. I remember when Rashawn had a brother work with him when they was doing security at Def Jam. And the brother was from Far Rock. And Rob rocked his crown to work. And he's like, oh, shit, rock his crown was flat. Oh, you 5%. And he said, and the brother said, the first brother who gave him a G-Pack was a 5%. And Rob was like trying to make excuses for the brother who gave him that, saying, oh, man, he wasn't really 5%. Nah, he was a 5%. That brother knew he was a 5%. He told you he knew he was a 5%. He ain't want the knowledge. He wanted the G-Pack. That's what he wanted. He didn't want, hold up. He sat there and told, yeah, that was the guy. He knew the guy had knowledge, but guess what he wanted?
He ain't asked for that knowledge.
He wanted the G-Pack. I know a brother right now from Mount Vernon. I went to college with. Didn't see him for a good, I didn't see him from 88 till about 97. When I was in college with him, he was 85. Next time I see him is at the motherfucking rally. As soon as I saw we recognized each other, I'm like, sure, you got the knowledge now. Why you ain't get, like I said, I had the knowledge in college. He didn't. He was running with a brother. He was out there going to school, but there's crack at it. So they went out there and they was getting money too. And one of the brothers who had the knowledge went to school with, he was one of the brothers also too. They were dibbling and dabbling. And he was like, when he was explaining, how he ended up with the knowledge, he's like, yeah, I was with Bartista, but they ain't really, giving me knowledge. I said, you didn't want the knowledge from Bartista. You wanted that G-Pack they had. They gave you what you wanted. You, like you said, you knew he was a guy. It wasn't like you from Mount Vernon. It ain't nothing new. It ain't like you don't know nothing about the 5%. But when it came down to it, lessons or this G-Pack. I want this G-Pack. Brother gave you the G-Pack. It is what it is. What you gonna be? Oh, he wasn't. No, you wanted what you wanted, and you got what you wanted. Okay, say what it is. You can call it what you wanted, but at the end of the day, you said you admitted you knew he was the guy. But so you knew what that was about. But he was also in the streets. And guess what? You wanted more. You wanted what he had with that G-Pack. Now, eventually, you end up getting the knowledge. But nah, you made the choice both times. That's just what it was.
I see that guy.
You can't.
Yeah, I see it.
Because you hear most individuals who say shit like that. It's like, God, you knew he was God, but you went and did what you did anyway. You wanted the G-Pack, right? You was getting the money. I ain't mad. Hold on. I ain't mad at you. But don't hold the brother responsible with, hold on. So you saying he held a gun to your head and said, take this? Or did you willingly say, yo, can I get that? I can get that? That's the whole thing. I ain't never seen nobody doing drugs going like this. Yo, you want to hustle? You want? I'm just giving this to you. No. That don't happen. Right. You came to them and asked him for it. And trust me, he had to look. He examined you enough to where he was like, okay, I give it to you, but when I give it to you, you come back with a certain amount. That's just the reality. But like I said, you got to hold the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful
That's
on
right.
your shoulders, because individuals will come at you about shit that happened years ago that ain't got nothing to do with you.
That's
But
right.
guess what?
Yep.
You got to hold it,
That's it.
and that's it. You got to hold it, and
Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent. Hey man, it is what it is.
See,
Now it's about what you gonna do.
that's right.
That's what it's coming at. It's about what you gonna do. But those same individuals that them people didn't like, guess what? There's some of the reasons that this knowledge is still here.
Mm-hmm.
Because take Ray Hammond, God, what they did is made it possible for brothers to be able to walk anywhere in the city with no problem.
That's right.
With no problem.
That's right.
Everybody can't say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To be able to walk the 5, we talking about the 70s and 80s. When, no. You just couldn't do that. You see that flag? Oh, don't mess with them. Wow. Man. Leave them alone. And most people will tell you this, because I'm a living example of it. When I was going to get the knowledge, and I told brothers who I was running with, who were 85s, and this is what happened with most brothers who say they about to get the knowledge, and they tell their 85 friends, the first thing one of their 85 friends is going to say is, you sure about that? Because they don't be playing, man. They don't be playing. You sure? Because that ain't nothing to be playing with, man. I'm telling you now. Are you sure you want to deal with that? Because that's not something to be playing with. They don't play about that. You fight one, it's not no. You fight one, it's too many of them. Leave them alone. Because why? Man, they coming from everywhere. They don't, that's 7 in that means something. Leave them alone. Because if you don't want to have a whole bunch of problems, you don't, because like I said, because we done taught some extremists. We done taught some extremists to the point where it's like this. Bruh, it's some of our brothers, if you got to call them, you gonna have to move, and everybody else gonna have to move. If you understand, you gonna have to move, and whoever you had a problem with gonna have to move. Because guess what? These individuals, they only have one thing. Man, let's just get rid of everybody. Then we ain't got to worry about it. And that's what they gonna tell you, yo, God, you know, if I come, you ready to move. Because you got a problem? All you got to do is go like this, point. Y'all leave. Because guess what? All of them are going. So your best bet is not to still be here after all this. Like, look, we done taught some extremists. Some extremists. And if you play around, and certain brothers you bring for certain things.
Yeah.
And certain brothers you don't bring to certain things.
That's right, good.
You got a problem, there's certain brothers you bring around and know that, hey, this problem gonna be solved. And there ain't gonna be no questions asked. Peace God.
Peace, guys. Indeed. For those listening, that was K-Bar. I know K-Bar since I got knowledge, you know what I mean? And he is one of my elder peers, so he's not much older than me, but he's had it way longer. So he's older than me, but not by like a million years, not like less than 10 years. But him, Darkim, Freedom, those are like my peer group. Does hip hop? He's a great MC. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Darkim too, by the way. A lot of people don't know. Darkim is really great.
That's who was here last week, right?
Darkim. No, that's Dayson. Now Dayson, me and Dayson, we wrote in almost every magazine. If you put our resumes together, every magazine's been written. From Village Voice to The Source to Vibe, everything. You know what I'm saying? No, that was Rio. The one behind him was Dayson.
The one like him.
Dayson was the one who brought me to this school.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He didn't give me knowledge, but he brought me here to learn. So I know him. He's my day one. You know what I'm saying? But
But K-Bar spent time with him too. All from the firstborn prince tree. Darkim, K-Bar, right? So that's the firstborn that taught them.
So they said he learned from the father, right? Like
Day's son? No, he's not that old. He's not.
Oh.
No. Day's son's only a few years older than me. You know, we went to college together. So that's where I met Day's son. The God that was in here was K-Bar. Yeah. But the God last week was Day's son. The light skinned brother, the Puerto Rican Rio, he was my student. So yeah.
He's very informative. He knows a lot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I remember he was talking about how people used to say back in the day the white man brought the drug Oliver North and all that across the border. And then
Yeah. Rio's always been
we
on
had
that.
libraries, he wasn't slinging books.
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's peace. All right, I hope that clears up a lot of the question here because that question was coming from here. Let me see this. I'm catching up here. They came out. All right. Yeah, Malik. Yeah, the degree. The Bible verse is in the degree. You got to quote that too. So you got to get biblical. He was cynical about the biblical. So, Malik, you said Elijah knew who the original man is, so why he didn't teach to lead his followers? No, it's all stages, though. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see that Elijah did any devilishment. He was taught to make a nation, and what he was taught to do was to teach a Muslim nation, those who submit to the will of Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. He was taught to teach them these Muslim teachings. He wasn't necessarily taught to teach them that they're the true and living God at this moment. That's a contradiction. I think other people find it a hypocrisy, but I don't, because so many people don't see it. Only a special few will see it because they have to see that they are that's in the decree. And that is something that you can't. I don't think that Elijah would have been able to build the nation of Islam, you know, if that was the case. King, you said I hate that Bible quoting part. The 1 to 40 feels like a huge book within itself, God. Well, it is. Some degrees in it I like, and some aren't necessarily my favorite. Some degrees aren't long as fuck. Yeah, that's true. Malik. Okay. Yeah, Malik, you're right, though. You know, the biblical verses helped a lot of the older gods build when they was quoting the degrees, because at the time they didn't have all these black books about the anthropology of ancient civilization, things like that. They only had that in the Bible. And they weren't going to quote the Quran because even if they read the Quran, a lot of them did. Firstborn Prince knew Arabic. Like, he went that far. He learned Arabic. He did a lot. He had a very Islamic lifestyle. Like, he learned a lot of the things that, you know, he did a lot of the services, the prayer, and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was learning all of it, though. People found it mysterious too, and they disagree with Firstborn Prince doing that. But when you talk to Firstborn Prince, he never told you and taught mystery. But these are things like rituals and things that he found useful, and he was doing. You know, he was engaging in the culture of Islam. You know, the different cultural interpretations of its religion and whatnot. You know, that's how I saw it. And he learned Arabic, and he taught Arabic. I never, you know, he was killed not too long after I got the knowledge, you know, compared to others. And I never had the time to come into the classroom, to his classroom, and learn Arabic. Because when I started to teach my class, he wasn't teaching as regularly. You know what I mean? And I just didn't have the time once I started to teach. But he used to teach Arabic to certain people. But most of the majority of 85 that we're coming from, the families, like, they're not Muslim. They were Christian. So the Bible was the real weapon, you know? So quoting the Bible verses was not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't useless. You know? You quote Revelations chapter 1, verse 14, or Psalms 82, verse 6. Like, you're quoting man is God. Like, you're quoting verses that say that man is God, you know? And that's going to hit differently to a Christian. You know, when you quote
the passages in Leviticus that talk about not eating the flesh of a wolved animal, which is pork, it'll hit some people different, at least hit hard, and so you have validity, right? With the religious, you know what I mean? So a lot of gods. I remember Ibn al-Jamar was a master at the Bible, a real master. You know, with using the Bible verses and building with them. Jarrell, you said after we get past the 30 or 31 days in a month, when do we utilize the other 10 degrees? You don't. You don't use the other 10 degrees. You only use the 1 to 31. You know what I'm saying? In building with the day's mathematics. You know what I mean? The rest of the degrees are for you to build with them ingeniously. Now, all the degrees born a single solitary number. So the 37th degree would eventually born what? 3 plus 7 is what? 10 from knowledge. So you could always do it that way. But the point of these degrees is to use them on a deeper level. They don't need to just attach to a day and a month. You know what I'm saying? But it's a good question. Malik, you said, why do some say this water is never drawn above 6 miles and say the earth, the queen, is limited? I don't teach she is. And how do you see that? Okay. I don't bear witness that the earth is limited. I bear witness that the black man and the black woman are unique. That's why we don't teach that the black woman is a goddess. We teach her that she's the earth because we know that she's not a version of man. You know what I'm saying? She's not just a version of man. She's unique with her own attributes. Some people go, she's secondary but most necessary. But that, when you teach any woman, no, that doesn't sound right. Because the partnership of man and woman, no, isn't a 1-2. It is a partnership of balance, you know, and a reality of balance. Not necessarily this, like this. You know what I'm saying? The relationships are like this. Sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. You know, they're interdependent, right? They're interdependent. So it's a reality that, you know, when we liken the earth to draw up to her fullest equality, like the degree talks about, the build degree talks about how the sun draws up the water from the earth's surface, right? 6 miles above the earth's surface. That has to do with her fullest equality. Remember I told you equality, the proper position, the proper mentality for her to see herself, to see you, and for you to build and born, right? That's what that means. That's what the perspective is, you know? So I don't see that it would limit her, you know? Truth rules, peace. All right, Grand Rapids. Always make me think of my brothers. Kevlar, 7. Remember Imperfection. My brothers, Bronze Nazareth. Those out there, Grand Rapids brothers. All right. Indeed, peace to K-Bar, of course. K-Bar, one of the legends people don't know about. When we talk about stories of a lot of the elders in this nation, the things that they did, the good, bad, ugly, beautiful, these stories are being preserved by that God right there. That God has more stories than you can, because his journey in the knowledge was living and spending lived energy, like actual living with them, home, you know, sharing meals and stuff with a lot of the firstborn. You know what I'm saying? So he has that experience, you know. All right. Infinite mind. Peace, God. Wisdom is the way we express the knowledge of ourselves. God is the supreme reality of self, taking responsibility and accountability for being creators as opposed to just taking the seat to life. That's right. Neuroscientists and physicists have come to the reality of the quantum field swaying from Newtonian physics of cause and effect, and realizing that we don't play the backseat to cause and effect. Instead, we have learned through the quantum field that we are the cause to the effects. That's right. The observer affects the observation. In the quantum physics, though, meaning the physics of the subatomic, so small that one of their scientists that discovered this, Max Planck, they have their own scale called the Planck scale. It is subatomic. The rules of physics do not apply as they would now. So if I throw you something, it doesn't mean it's going to get to you. You know what I'm saying? In the quantum world. Quantum world has to do with the influence of the observer on that observation. Right? There's one last question here. Let me give you the slit experiment. In fact, we could use it with this chair. This chair has 3 slits. Right? So we have this, right? We have this chair. It has 3 slits. Can't really show it to you here. There we go. I can show it to you here, right? We have this 3 slits. Pretend that we cover up 1 slit, right? We cover up and leave only the middle one open, right? Check out this experiment, Muhammad, right? This is the slit experiment in quantum mechanics of the subatomic. We only leave the middle one open. We fire subatomic particles at the chair. Are they going to go through here also? They are, right? And over here, you see an outline of pellets, subatomic particles hitting it here, right? Rectangular size. In the slit experiment, though, something happens. Now they open up the other 2, and now you have 3. And if we shoot pellets everywhere, you're expecting them to go through here, here, and here, right? That doesn't happen. In the slit experiment, instead, all of the pellets turn and go through here, which is Bugs Bunny shit in the real physics world, right? Or unless you're like a super pitcher like Greg Maddox, there, you do those crazy ass curves and shit like that, right? Right? So what's happening here? Why is that happening? Why is it going against natural physics? Why do they shoot a gun and it goes straight the subatomic particles and then it turns? Because the subatomic particles are not exactly matter. At the subatomic level, matter is not matter. It is neither a wave of energy or a particle of matter. It is undecided. So sometimes the way to describe it is that they are wavicles. But how do they become the pellets of matter that hit the back? Something has happened in this transition here that it became something. So in the subatomic plane, those wavicles, energy, they're not quite energy, but they are not quite matter, physical matter. They are being developed. Something is forcing that development. This experiment, though, real experiment, only happens when the observer observes the field of observation. See? And then something happens. It happens that they go through the pellets of the original middle one, because that was what happened on the first experiment. That is the mental energy that has been relayed here. And this is what infinite mind is saying about the quantum field. It shows that the mind is affecting the reality of things on the quantum level. Before things are created, the mind affects all things. Isn't that awesome? The quantum mechanics, though, has been known and has been discovered by scientists for over 100 years. They don't teach this in school. However, devices such as this use quantum computing on a subatomic level. So many things are using. There's a good book I have about the inventions from quantum mechanics. Peace, yeah. Right? And I think it's, I forget the name of the author. I don't want to say it though, because I'm not sure. But what's not taught in school, even to those that learn quantum mechanics, is exactly the philosophical repercussions of it. What I just said now. They learn the experiments and stuff, and they learn how to use quantum mechanics because it deals with probability and the likelihood of probability. And the science of calculations of quantum mechanics become known as more precise than even of other sciences, whether biology, chemistry, or others. So it is so precise that they can compute certain things based on that and that alone. And there are countless technology that is made and developed from it that we wouldn't have today if we didn't use that, including these cell phones, right? So today, throughout these last 100 years, they, as the most westernized thing to do, right? The most European thing to do, learn it so you could use it for yourself, but we're not going to learn what it means to us. See? By the way, as a clue of studies, this is also really the difference between the Eastern way of thought and education and the Western way of thought and education. See? It's not holistic. It doesn't deal with the whole reality. Just like you learn American history and the Spanish-American War, just because there might be a Puerto Rican in the classroom, he's not going to be taught, though, what happened to Puerto Rico, and that's the beginnings of it becoming a colony by the U.S. That has nothing to do with America that you need to know about, that they want you to know about. So they skip it. It's not holistic, right? The African-American was just a slave, though. You don't need anything else to know. He was in the other thing. He was doing, what was he doing in Africa? He's doing whatever he's doing. I don't fucking know. Doesn't matter. So today they'll say, well, there's a lot of racism about it and everything like that. Well, what was he doing? What was the African like? What was their society civilization? Right? Because kids don't know. They just know that they were slaves. They obviously don't know Africa is a day-to-day thing. I was talking to somebody that's really not, I was talking to somebody recently who's not racist, though. They're really not racist. Like, they're good people. And I don't know where the conversation veered into something about Africa, like today. And they refer to it like, man, who would be relegated to live in Africa? And I was like, that Africa's like any other continent. Like, they have like real amazing places and cities and beautiful things, like place to live. Like, they're thinking it's like gods must be crazy, and they're just like looking at an elephant with an airplane and shit and just bugging, right? They find like things. No, you know what I'm saying? The truth is, it has everything. It has everything that any civilization has to offer, but it also has the massive slavery that is making all these civilizations go, right?
Right.
Right? Because let's not do oil, let's not do this, but they do these batteries,
Yeah.
right? The cobalt, the Congo mining, right? The oppression, just different things, right? Different things to blood suck, to mine, all of these things, right? But that's why when we learn, we have to learn holistically, right? Max Planck was who I was saying. Let me spell that. It's Max, P-L-N-C-K. Okay, because that's a scale. He did more things. He didn't invent just the scale, but there's a lot of things people talk about. Schrodinger's cat, you know what I'm saying? That thought experiment about quantum mechanics and how, like, the observer, things only are real when the observer observes it. So they have the thought experiment. And it's called Schrodinger's cat because the guy, Arthur Schrodinger, made it up. And he basically said there's a cat with there's an attachment of poison. And when the clock strikes, the poison is going to go in there. But you don't know if the poison was released until you open the box that the cat is in. You see? So people go, but the cat was suffocated. So like, it don't mean shit. It's about the thought experiment. It doesn't have to make sense. But quantum mechanics is like that. Everything is in a state of suspended reality. Nothing happens yet until you observe it. But yet all possibilities are possible. See? That's what the Schrodinger's cat means. You know what I'm saying? That's what that means.
How you spell his last name?
Schrodinger, S-C-H-R-O-D-I-N-G-E-R. Right? Infinite Mind said the crazy part is the subatomic particles started to change when we put on lenses on them, like it knew it was being observed, and they responded like they didn't know what was going on. How, right? It's like the waves of energy and the matter of all reality is affected by the observer. In other words, what it's really saying, though, is that none of this really works until we observe it. This is also the premise of Robert Lanza's book, 3 books about saying he's a biologist, and he says, it has a whole concept on it. It's 3 books on it about how nothing exists until we make it happen. It doesn't exist until we realize it and see it, and that's what he calls biocentrism. Right? Biocentrism. Peace, God. So this is something. And I have those books. All these books I have digitally. You want to read them? Just remind me.
I'll email about you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I could send you all these books and you can start. I'm actually on the 3rd one, the last of the 3. I don't know if I'll make more, but the latest of 3, I'll say. All right. Malik, you said, I know I asked this before, Sunez Lou. The culture degree in the 1 to 14, what made Mecca the root of civilization? If you look at it's not necessarily that everything is founded. When they say the root of civilization, we're talking a place that becomes the center point of everything happening, right? The place where everything gets known and where everything is brought to. So it doesn't mean that things aren't created there or here or there, but they're all brought here. This is why we call this Mecca. God's built everywhere, right? They make things everywhere. They do massive things everywhere, but everything comes here in the central point. You see? So it's kind of a funnel point. You know what I mean? And I truly see that the Egyptian mystery school systems could not have existed unless they had a central point. Egyptian mystery school system. This is what was the premise of the major book, Stolen Legacy by George James. I'll give you that book too. And he wrote this book and he focused on the philosophy, how Egyptian philosophy is stolen Greek philosophy. But it is based on the Egyptian mystery school system. So it's not just philosophy, it's the entire teachings of Kemet. And it channels off into them, how we taught the Greeks to be that first civilized, useful society, right? But the Egyptian mystery school system, I propose, from my research and my thought process here, was not really the function. It wasn't made to teach white folk. It was basically making a new center point to collect all of this knowledge from all the original people that had spread apart, right? Indians that were exiled, all of these. How do we come back together? India, right? All of Asia here, right? All of these parts come back here and get back to Mecca, right? So when we talk about what is the root doesn't mean that everything worthwhile is made there. It means that everything goes there. And because everything goes there, there's more power because people can what? Supplement the ideas, merge it with other ideas. And I've always seen the Egyptian mystery school system as a system to try to get all the knowledge of the original people back together. And it may have been, this is a possibility, the last foray to try to counteract the making of the devil. If we could unite the people this way, maybe we don't need to make the devil. But the Egyptian mystery school system failed. Right? They taught white folk that were well-meaning and earned their way in there. But when it went back, though, it got misused. That's crazy, right? White people misusing things. That's just crazy. All right? Shit. White people fucking shit up. Ain't that new? Harold Saxton Burr. No, I am not. Let's look him up. Okay. Professor of anatomy. Let's see if he has any literature. Yo, some of the stuff he wrote here is pretty interesting. The electrodynamic theory of life. That's crazy right there. Nature of man and the meaning of existence. Blueprint for immortality. Yo, I hope these aren't out of print, man.
What's the author name?
Harold Saxton Burr, B-U-R-R. Let me see. Search here.
blueprint for immortality, the electric patterns of life. You know, when people say that, that has a lot to do with the Chinese and Qi Kung. You know what I'm saying? Because that's exactly what they see Qi Kung as. You know what I'm saying? The bioelectricity of the body manifested and mastered. All right.
Did you say the elders is gonna be here tomorrow?
I don't know who's gonna be here tomorrow.
No, I thought you previously mentioned that.
Most likely, the elders would be at tomorrow's funeral services for my enlightenment. Knowledge me. So
So I hear it too.
thank you, God. Yeah. You knew knowledge me.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
It's part of my rule. I had to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's a talented, magnificent brother, God.
Magnificent.
I don't even want to know how. What happened, Lord. But it is what it is, right?
That was your enlightenment too.
That was my enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah. Knowledge me was my enlightenment.
What was his name?
Knowledge me.
Knowledge me. That was his name.
Knowledge me. Yeah. Knowledge
That's
me.
tough.
Yeah.
And my condolences.
That's peace. Appreciate that.
What time would that be?
The funeral services are at
So they
from
call
three
y'all.
from 3 to 6 p.m.
3 to 6 p.m.
Mhm. It's at no, it's not here. It's at First Avenue Funeral Service.
So 106.
That's on 116th on the east side. So if you just write, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it to y'all.
Yeah, that's peace, God. I'll be there the whole time. So, you know. My whole time with the knowledge, I never met any of his family members or anything like that. You know. You know, it'd be nice to meet some of them. You know, a lot of times, and I'll just say this, like, for us 5%ers, most family members don't know how impactful the 5%ers were. Like their son might have been their brother, their you know, their uncles or something like that. They'll know that they were 5%ers and out in the street a lot and did things, but they don't really know the impact. You know what I'm saying? They don't really know what they did, you know, how immense it was. You know? Malik, you said I was just thinking about Elijah. Did he have any affinity towards the Indians? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Asia for that matter. Thus, Asiatic knowledge green to 1 to 10, and was that why he included 2 million Indian in the understanding degree in the 1 to 10, understanding degree in the 1 to 14. I don't think he had an affinity. I just think that was the facts to put in. That's the facts to put in. I don't see him emotional on that level. Infinite Mind, you said in the 40s, Harold Saxton Burr used the voltmeter to detect the electrical potential of the body and discovered the electrical field by studying eggs. Yeah, sounds. Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, you said similar to Dr. Yang Jwing-Ming. He was a Yale professor. Studying every single type of egg you can think of, he found that all of them produce positive energy in the head and negative energy in the feet, giving us a magnetic field. Wow, that's powerful. With that knowledge of the magnetic field, using Burr's proofs, neurologists learn about the brain and heart coherence and how the mind can manipulate the magnetic field around the body. That's the Qi Kung. That's the shit that Zhuang Ning talks about. Yeah, that's some crazy shit. I'm gonna get some of his books. I'd love to read that. All right, where am I at here? Mr. G1, peace guy. You said with 18.9% of the US population. Wow, he knows the exact amount. I didn't know that amount. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Being Hispanic Latin at around 62 million and black people at 13%, 41 million. Do you see there being a need to adjust the approach to teaching as far as educating to unite all the seeds? I don't see historically this was taught through an African American paradigm. The history of it is through so-called African Americans, right? Elijah Muhammad, right? I don't bear witness to teaching what this truth was in this history different. What I do say is that the pedagogy always has to change because you're teaching all the original people. The degrees say that we teach all the human families. So we should be naturally able to adjust by learning more about the original peoples, the cultures that they come from, the ethnicities that they come from, which means that they're also going to come with different ignorances. They're 85, but they're all 85 for different reasons, different ways, different intensities. You know what I'm saying? Just like the 85, they could be civilized 85. They eat the right foods, everything, but they believe in a mystery God. Or the 85 that's completely savage in the street. They don't give a shit about anything. You know what I mean? The cunning 85. You know what I'm saying? That are just about their own lives and they want to get ahead. And so at any opportunity, they do 10% like things. So much so they confuse us though. Make us think they're 10% bigger than that. You know what I'm saying? Right? 85 is an engaging creature. You know what I mean? They're not one person. They're not one type. And so where we're coming from is not one type. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's why I was called the 9,000 miles. You know what I mean? 9,000 miles from where we once were to where we are. It's different journeys. You know what I'm saying? Different journeys. Different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? So it's never one and the same. So the adjustment is, yeah, people are gonna have to learn some Latin history. Finally. You know what I'm saying? But they're only gonna learn more about themselves. Because the African American should already do Latin history. He should have already known that the people that brought polyrhythms here were us.
Jazz music is
right?
Really.
Because the polyrhythms based in jazz music, when it hit the drum, it was based on what Cubans and Puerto Ricans were bringing in. You know what I mean? So there's so much interplay, there's so much interaction, but it's not really known. And that's false separation, blind eyes, all that kind of stuff, In fact, a lot of roots of jazz, though, there's early jazz musicians, 1920s, 30s, and they say, listen, it's not jazz if it doesn't have the Latin rhythm in it. They say, well, what do you mean by Latin rhythm, A lot of these rhythms that were preserved in the drum were preserved by the original people outside of America.
Right, because we couldn't have it here.
Couldn't have it here. Dizzy used to say that, but he also used to say that the polyrhythms that we played before we got to the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans was in the horn section. That's what he used to say. And him and Bird together, right? Charlie Parker, Bird on sax and him on trumpet. That's some polyrhythms right there. And they were so engaged. They were so whatever they do, and if you don't want to say it's a rhythm, it's a melody, however you want to call it. They was doing some poly shit. You know what I mean? They was polying, like Raekwon says, they was polying, you know what I mean? Right? But we're gonna need that no matter what. What about when we go worldwide though? Like people don't get that. Like I get asked about this knowledge from Chinese people. I'm just supposed to say, the white man hates you, man. You gotta get this knowledge and try to kill you. Ain't nobody killing the Chinese people. Right? They're not. Nobody's looking for Chinese people regularly, not like us. Right? And yet there are places where they are, right? So it's all. What about other original peoples that aren't oppressed daily like the way we are? How are they going to relate? How are they going to see the lesson?
right? It's not about changing the lesson, right? It's about showing the emphasis that relates to the people that we're dealing with. And also bridging that gap and bringing it all together. So if I say something about African American history, that is not just important to you, that's important to him. If I say shit about New York history, I don't give a shit if he's fucking from New Jersey. He needs this New York history. You know what I'm saying? This nation is based on New York history. Who's here doing this?
Yeah.
So I don't care if you're from another state or out of country, shit like that. You better know you're learning some damn New York history with this shit, right? That's just the way it is. We expanded. We need to know the history of the places everybody else is coming from, right? How it is in LA. Like my brother King Kamal, Al C. Medina, Chicago, right? We got to know all these histories, right? So it's the same thing as learning about other, let's say, African American brothers that are from different states. You know what I'm saying? We learn about it. We learn about the plight that they was dealing with. We learn about the realities that they're coming from. It's all different. It's all different. You know what I'm saying? I've taught brothers that come here from other states and shit, and they don't even know what a Puerto Rican is. They're thinking I'm half black, some half black guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Or Mexican.
yeah. Right? Yeah, I'm Mexican, some shit like that.
Some type of Mexican.
Yeah, some different Mexican, yeah. One of those other men, yeah. I never get confused with Mexican here though, in New York though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get labeled spick very easily here though. Here, so there's no problem. You know what I mean? But I think it needs adjust, but based on the teacher needs not to change the lesson, emphasize the lesson different. If you get a knowledge of self, though, I don't want to hear shit from, and this has happened to me. This is not made up. There are Latinos that they come to get the knowledge and they're getting it all of a sudden, but then after a while they get annoyed or they just don't want to know about all this black history. I saw, it's not about me. It doesn't relate to me. Like when I go home with these Latinos, this family that I'm at, or these people I'm around. Well, you know what? I don't give a shit. The knowledge is here. And we bring it to other places where it's not. There are original people on this globe that not one degree in the history in these lessons relates to them like that. It'll be the same for a person from the Congo we were just talking about. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to go, I don't give a damn about Elijah. Elijah didn't do shit here. You know what I'm saying? That's not the Islam we know about, this and that, right? So how do we teach it? You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the people where they're from, though. And it's not always a black, brown, yellow seed difference. There are black seeds throughout this globe that are not going to relate and see the necessity of this. You know what I'm saying? But what they all have to bear witness to eventually, and this is the truth of the teaching, this is where the knowledge was brought to. This is where the knowledge flourished in a way that it has never flourished ever in history. And when we think about oppression, this is where the oppression became mental. And so this is where the lessons needed to be, the knowledge itself needed to be, because the fighters, right? The fighters fighting that mental oppression fight, the highest fight possible, that's us here. And everybody else in the globe in physical slavery, right? From sweatshops to mining, cobalt mining. They never seen no shit like this. You know what I'm saying? They never seen no shit like this. They don't know that world of illusion. Yakub's world is not based on the clear-cut slave-oppressor relationship. It is based on the cunning of confusion and illusion. The confusion and illusion that he gave the slave master during the transatlantic slave trade is the proof of that. Most of the slaves outside of the United States, though, have lived the legacy of slavery in a way that says, I survived the situation. My family had slaves, but they survived the situation and they moved on. Why can't you, black man, here? Because that's not what they did. They set up the illusion. They did it to the highest level here. the illusion. They used Yaku's rules and regulations, and they made they gave, right? Your body was the holy baby. You'll survive here and make it if you keep doing your work. But your mind, your essence, though, is the angel baby. It'll always be savage. Your mindset will always be savage. While you're here, you're a savage. You're subhuman. You see? They use both in the body and the mind of the black man. Right? That shit doesn't exist anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? It gets used now in modern time in different ways all over the globe. But it was made really refined and hit peaks in that transatlantic slave trade. It's not the peak of devilishment. When people go, oh look, race is a made up thing. Race is a made up thing. That's so interesting to me. It's so interesting to me, right? Race is a made up thing so they could do the slave trade and shit like that. But when we go back thousands and thousands of years, for some reason, the white man always knew that it was the original people that did everything. Right? But race is a made up thing. But they knew that they couldn't do certain things, and they had to go into Kemet. And they had to learn from the Egyptian mystery school system. They always knew who the original people were. Don't let that whole shit. Race is made up thing. Race has its new abuses and endless redefinitions and appropriations. But it is not a made up thing. It is not a made up thing. Nobody in Greece said, Herodotus did not describe what was going on in ancient Kemet, Egypt, and say, we could do that shit too. I remember he did not write that in his historical archives. He wrote, we can't do that shit that they doing there. That's what he wrote. You know what I'm saying? So the shit does exist. You know?
And like you said earlier, you speaking on language, and that's even really important. When you're dealing with mindset, because if you erase somebody's language, you take a language from them, you kind of like take away a sense of themselves. There's certain words that we use, like for instance, I know in certain African tribes, like they don't use words like might or maybe. Like that's not even a part. That's not even a word that's found. So just imagine like all the words that's like really garbage that we utilize.
Mm-hmm. And the difficulty to express yourself in certain ways.
I was actually watching like a documentary on like the word understand, like some certain like people adapted the word overstand because like just that whole like the whole schematic of like the English language
Being
like,
under somebody
has you like feeling like subconsciously inferior with all these words and terminology.
We don't say overstand because when we deal with the knowledge is the foundation. And when we understand it, we're able to go under and stand on that foundation. We go under, we support the knowledge. Peace God. Everything's peace God.
Yeah, peace God. Explain like that, and that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Yeah.
I hope that answers that.
Well, peace goes. I got that Brooklyn.
That's peace God.
That's
We're
a long trip.
all right. Where in Brooklyn you at?
Down Utica Ave, Crown Heights.
Oh, okay. That is a nice little trip.
One more time, because I'm not from around here. 116th East. If I go, it will be right soon as.
Yes, I could give you all that address though. I could give you that exact address, and you could plot. Yeah, yeah. The 6th train is what's gonna get you close there. All right, let me look through these last things, and then we can end here. Also, does this growth in numbers for original give any new perspective on the student enrollment? No, because the student enrollment, the 3rd and 4th degrees, though, are population figures for that day and time, and the ratios and everything are important to getting down. That's the real understanding in that degree. You know what I'm saying? The ratios. Infinite Mind, you said studying every single type of. Oh no, I read that already. I read that. Okay, Infinite, you said I got heavy into Dr. Joe Dispenza recently, along with physicists and neurologists. I've done over 8,000 brain scans during retreats of people in meditation.
They have brain scans of people curing themselves from stage 4 cancer, blindness, deafness, paralysis, and more. Wow.
But that's just like what you said as far as the observer.
Yes.
Affecting the
Yes.
observer.
793rd, you said the live touch impacted change. So at times the celebration of life brings that love shared forward to the family, which is peace and willfully comforting during the time of loss. I see that. Olu, peace. That's why I never fall for the fallacy that we lost our traditions and customs. People that were simply in places so I guess you mean isolated that was overlooked. Malik, you said, could mentioning the Indians here be uniting and showing we have the same oppressors? Absolutely. Absolutely.
You all right?
Outside of the U.S., Infinite Mind says the exception of New Orleans, which was a French colony, the African slaves still practiced African heritage. The English colonizers, slave masters weren't having it. That's right. That's right. They were super. They were the super devils. Spanish, Portuguese, French colonists turned a blind eye to it. Because of that, much of the original man's culture was able to survive in the Americas. That's right. That's right. Knowledge is an old-edge foundation which is under where we stand. That's right, God. That's right. All right. I have been here longer than the class usually is supposed to go. Unless anybody has any questions. Sam is walking in right as I give my closing remarks, though, and I'm about to finish. He is late. You are late, but it's okay. We are finished here. But Sam, if there's anything you want to ask me, anything you want to build on, let me know. Let me know. We will not leave until.
I don't want to hold up. That was my fault being tardy.
If any, but you have a nap, guy, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you
I
contact.
appreciate the number you gave me. They should have hit me back.
Yes. Oh, okay. Good. Good. Yeah.
It's the first match I ended early.
With that proper, yeah. No, the reason I'm ending deliberately earlier, because 8 o'clock will be early, it's 8:30, is because I really want to be rested quality, because tomorrow's my enlighteners,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
you know, and I just want to be in the right mindset, you know what I'm saying, rested mentally and shit, you know what I mean? But I'll be there tomorrow, you know. All right, so peace to the gods, peace to the earth, peace to anyone that was listening covertly, overtly, secretly. I'm here. Right.
I'm watching
I'm not watching too, but I can't even go back to
All right.
on
Indeed. That's right. Nazmi was a great man. All right. So peace to everyone. If you are in the New York City area and you come through tomorrow, that'd be great. Parliament is on Sunday. At the theater in Marcus Garvey Park from 2 to 7 p.m. So if you can make that, you make that. So that's great. All right. Indeed, Infinite Mind, I am going for you too. Absolutely. All right. Peace.